Magandang hapon po sa lahat. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to the Information Services and Instruction section for coming up with this, facilitating this seminar, this webinar on the use of Turnitin. Um, as early as June of this year, we've been, trying to negotiate with university administration and trying to find a plagiarism checker software. But of course, it wasn't really that easy. There are lots of considerations, but well, finally, here we are with this plagiarism checker called Turnitin. So again, we thank you for joining us this afternoon. And Turnitin is just one of the more than a dozen electronic resources that the university library is finally able uh, to, 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 to fund or get the nod of the administrations, um, so that for at least for next year 2021, we'll be able to have access to. um, we conducted a survey, including all the constituent universities of UP in the UP system, and Turnitin actually is one of the databases that are considered top priority for subscription. So I say thank you to the UP Diliman ISAIS, the Information Services and Action Section, for again, talagang they painstakingly did everything to really process this subscription to Turnitin, and also to the acquisition section headed by Ms. Tess Kalu for their patience, for their uh, tireless efforts, so that we can finally have this Turnitin plagiarism checker. So some features that I would like to make mention of about Turnitin. Well, in a way, it prevents plagiarism because it identifies if there are unoriginal contents in a paper or a research that was being submitted, and it manages potential academic misconduct by highlighting similarities with other works. So somehow, even before the paper is completely approved, we can already check for its originality. So basically, Turnitin creates originality report. So yun po ang talagang gamit ng Turnitin. So at this point, I would also like to say thank you, of course, to the UP administration for finally, providing the fund for this plagiarism checker that we have now. I would especially like to say thank you to Vice President Cynthia Rose Bautista, kasi like I've said, no, as early as June talaga pong there's already a push for us to have this plagiarism checker as part of the university's subscription for system-wide access. So that um, let's start with the orientation. I hope this will be. I'm looking forward to a fruitful afternoon. To our dear faculty, maraming salamat po at sasamahan natin ngayong hapon. Sana po ay talagang mapakinabangan natin ng mabuti itong Turnitin bilang isa po sa mga bagong e-resources that will be given access. So on behalf of the constituent universities, the other university librarians, the librarians of UP, kami po ang inyong partners in maintaining and keeping academic integrity. So maraming salamat po sa inyo, and sige po, tuloy tayo sa ating webinar orientation on Turnitin. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Ma'am LV, for the opening remarks. No, indeed, it's a milestone that we finally have this particular subscription. No, as mentioned by Ma'am LV, this is one of our top priority subscriptions to have this year. And I'm sorry, I think I said UP Diliman when I meant the whole UP system, because we're being joined by different librarians and faculty members from the whole UP system. So thank you very much for joining us. Currently, we already have 233 participants, and I think the limitation of our Zoom platform is 300. So perhaps those who can join us through this platform can join us through Zoom. No? So the Google Sheet will also be posted there. So for those who have questions for our resource person, please feel free to post your questions in the Google Sheet that we just shared with you. Okay? All right. So just a few things before we move on to the orientation proper. So today is the general orientation, and as I have said earlier, this is not just for the faculty members, but also our librarians and library staff who will be our what we call Turnitin champions. No? So, but tomorrow, starting tomorrow and until the 4th of December, there will be a series of trainings which will be participated in by select faculty members. So we ask your libraries, your librarians, your unit librarians to send a list of all the faculty members who will be participating in those in those trainings. No? So you will be receiving a pre-registration link. I think later, perhaps tomorrow, for the training. No? So if you have questions, if your name is not on the list and you want to participate, perhaps you can contact your college library or your unit librarian to assist you. All right. So we hope that's clear. Great. So moving forward, today's speaker has been working for 18 years as a sales professional. He has extensive experience in client engagement and product management. He loves to work with forward thinking technology and has built a career in educational technology with a firm belief that the education in the Philippines can be developed on a greater or on a grander scale. Let us all welcome the Territory Sales Manager for Turnitin Philippines, Mr. Franz Victoria.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank you for participating with this on this short orientation. Again, I'm Franz Victoria from Turnitin Philippines. So just to give you a short background or history, Turnitin Philippines started just this year, last March 2020. Uh, since then, we have been engaging local on a local scale, the potential universities, and also to at least satisfy your requirements in fulfilling your main goals of at least managing misconduct and at the same time upholding academic integrity. Um, so allow me to share my screen. Okay, so can everyone see my screen now? A thumbs up or clap would be a good sign.
Yes, we can see it, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so our title for today would be Turning the Tide. Again, I'm Franz Victoria of Turnitin Philippines. So, the main objectives of our orientation right now is I'll show you on how the system works and then also the impact of the system. One thing that I would want to highlight is with regards to the evolution of plagiarism. So, the most common one is the type of copy pasting wherein we can just find and replace control C within Google or Wikipedia the parts that we would want to copy. But the thing that I would want to highlight right now, which is very rampant not only on a local setting but on a global scale, is actually contract cheating and research misconduct. So these two parts are the main I would say problems that all of majority of the institutions are facing right now because when a student conducts contract cheating or research misconduct, it's not only them who is being put into a bad light, but rather the instructors and the institution at the same time. So if you can imagine when a researcher splinters his or her findings and then borrowing from others' research papers without the proper citation, a lot of us are on the line. Even when we hire, or even when a student hires a ghostwriter for them to fulfill the assignment, it's a big of an issue for the institution. So with us as Turnitin, as a company, actually we developed a solution wherein we would be able to address those emerging trends. So the solution that I'm talking about is Turnitin Feedback Studio. With this particular tool, we would be able to discover similarity easily. If you can imagine, with the traditional workflow wherein one student would, or a class would then submit all of their research papers to the instructor. And then, let's say I'm talking about 50 to 70 students in one class. So the quality of the feedback and the checking of the instructor at some point would then falter because of the um, big scale of the workload being given to them in order for them to read up or review or skim through the submissions. So with Turnitin Feedback Studio, it will be much easier for you guys to discover similarity easily. And at the same time, you'll be able to ask the difficult questions for each and every student, that is it really your own work, or how did you come up with this particular scenario or insight within your paper. And also, one thing that we always promote to our partner institution would be for them to be able to provide actionable insights to each and every student or to each and every subject. Because with Turnitin Feedback Studio, you'll have the capability to provide concise feedback and direct feedback within the submissions of each and every student. Um, with the impact of Turnitin Feedback Studio, our main goal would be to provide wisdom and education to each and every student. And at the back end, us as an instructor and as an institution, we would be able to gain knowledge, information, and data, which will be very critical for us to formulate the next steps of learning process for the students that we would want to teach and impart knowledge with. So all of this would be um, provided by the technology of Turnitin. And along the way, at every stage, we would be able to provide the insight needed for each and every student, and also the proper feedback that we uh, or that the students would be helpful with. So the usual workflow that happens with Turnitin Feedback Studio is that the student on his or her own level, which they would be able to at least see and check their own submissions before doing the final submission for the instructor. And that step would actually promote critical thinking, because on their end, they'll be able to know what are the adjustments that they need to make with their submissions. And next step would be the instructor would be able to evaluate the similarity matches and provide the much needed feedback to the students. Next steps would be the instructor, sorry, the instructor and the administrator would be able to collaborate uh, to or and also promote, or rather what do you call this, formulate a much better game plan for the institution and the students that they would want to impart knowledge with. And with that workflow, you'll be able to achieve the maturity that each and every institution is actually aiming, and for our students to succeed in the future. So with Turnitin Feedback Studio, as I mentioned earlier, uh, it can detect matched texts. And at the same time, even altered text can be detected as well within the system. The main difference of Turnitin similarity or Turnitin Feedback Studio is with regards to our database. Because we have been 25 years in the business already, we've gathered billions of internet pages, millions of scholarly publications, and a billion student paper. And the plus factor for your institution, since you have subscribed to us already, is you'll be having your own institutional repository. Wherein on an institutional level, you'll be able to check and compare all of the submissions within the whole UP system. And also, Turnitin would be able to reveal different text modifications that at some point would be really hard for the instructors to at least keep in check, because it actually automates the checking, especially when we're talking about making the text white for it to appear in one word, and then replacing the characters, and providing high amount of coded material. With that, Turnitin Feedback Studio is actually pretty easy to use. So we've made it intuitive and accessible for each and everyone. It's actually a cloud-based system wherein you can just log in to the browser as long as you have an internet connection, and then you can just provide the credentials that's being given to you by your respective administrators. And as a simplified view, you'll have the overall similarity or the score, wherein it gives you an insight with regards to the similarity scoring of the submission of the student to your given assignment. So this score is actually based on the level of, or rather based on all of the databases being managed by Turnitin. Plus, it's actually color coded. Later, within a few minutes, I'll be able to show you the system on how it works. And with that, we can actually review all matching sources, not just the overall similarity score, but on each part of the paper, we can visit, validate the links being provided by Turnitin Feedback Studio. And then we can explore all of the matches in detail, because Turnitin actually indexes every result and provides you from what source it came from. And further, we can exclude unwanted content. So there are times that the instructor actually provides reference point for the assignment for the students. So when the time comes that the student submits that as a particular assignment, the teacher can exclude the reference point that was issued earlier. And you'll be able to, as I mentioned earlier, you'll be able to detect collusion at an early stage, because Turnitin will be able to provide that also. Student ID, who submitted the paper, and then what type of application has been used to um, provide the assignment. Okay, so that's the end of my slide. I'll now switch on to the system itself. So, hold on while I start. Okay, so right now we are at the landing page of the system. As you can see, I'm using Google Chrome as my web browser. You can just type in turnitin.com, and then once you are at the landing page, you can just click login. And then once you have the email address and the password, which is provided to you by your respective administrators, we can just log in directly into the system. So the access of the students, instructors, and the administrators is similar. So you'll be then taken to this particular page. This is the main user interface of Turnitin Feedback Studio. So with our system, there are three personalities involved. One would be the administrator, second would be the instructor, and then third would be the student. So the structure of this system is that the administrator is basically the super user. So I believe some administrators has been invited already for a training. So the role of that administrator would be to manage the system. Managing in terms of providing access to the instructor and the student at the same time. Also, the administrator would be able to monitor on how the system is being used and generate reports on how Turnitin is being utilized by each instructor and by each student. So I do get a lot of questions regarding the students that what if a student graduates and it's not enrolled already with UP. So the instructor can then delete the email of that student and then enroll a new student within the system. So same also goes for the instructors. So if the instructor leaves UP, the administrator can replace that instructor. So those are the main roles of the instructor. Next would be the instructor. So right now, we are at the user interface of an instructor. So this table actually shows the class that I have created previously. So one role of the administrator, aside from checking the submissions of the student, would be for them to create a class. So once I click create a class, I would then need to fill in the details. And then provide the enrollment key. Enrollment key basically is the password wherein the student will need to provide when he or she needs to enroll to the class that's being created by the instructor. Then we can just provide different subject areas. We do have a lot of options for that. So I'm just going to choose one random class and then let's say undergraduate student. By default, class start date is actually based on the date wherein you created the class. And class end date usually after a year. So once I'm satisfied in populating the parameters needed for me to create a class, I will then click submit. So the system will now give me two important details. One will be the class ID and second would be the enrollment key. So I'm going to copy the class ID because we're going to need that in a few minutes. I'm going to continue. So as you can see, UP system has been created in my class roster as an instructor. So I need to click that for me to add an assignment. So this assignment part is wherein we would have the structure for the students to submit their assignments. So I then need to fill in some details. The assignment title and then the point value, kung ilan yung earn ng student when he or she fulfills the assignment. And then further, start date, due dates, and posting dates can be customized. Other useful settings can be done as well when you create an assignment. So this is the part wherein you enter special instructions, or you can provide different links as a reference point for the students. And then you can allow submissions after the due date. It actually depends on the standards that you have. And other useful functionalities can be customized and discussed during the training. But one thing that I would want to highlight is with regards to the repository. So we do have two options for now with Turnitin Feedback Studio. So one, we do have an option to submit the submission of the student to our standard repository wherein Turnitin will make use of it. And second option would be no repository, meaning sa institution nyo lang papasok yung submissions nyo. So right now, let's choose no repository for this time. And then we do have online grading, grammar and spelling check that we can further customize. So once I'm happy with the setting, I'll just submit. And then the system will now prompt me or show me that I have successfully created the assignment within the class. So this is start date, due date, and then posting date. So right now, status is at 0 because no one have submitted any assignments yet. So basically, that's the role of the instructor wherein they need to create a class and then add assignment within that class. So I'm going to switch my role as a student. Again, we do have similar views from the administrator, instructor, and student. So these are the previous class that I have enrolled before. So since I have created a class earlier,
Ingay niya eh. Ayun.
I need to add the section ID that was given to me earlier, the one that popped out in the screen, and then provide the enrollment key. So this two details are very important. I'm going to click submit, and then you'll see that I have been enrolled into the UP system class that we have created earlier. So once I have enrolled into the class, I want to submit an assignment. So I just click that class for me to get inside that class and then submit an assignment. So we do have different options of doing submissions. We can do single file upload and then batch upload. In terms of the file types and file system, as long as there is a text within the submission, Turnitin can actually determine that. But right now, since most of my files is based on the cloud, I'm going to choose Google Drive. And then I'm going to choose my paper. So once I'm okay, I'm going to click upload. And then the system will actually show me an overview of what my assignment is all about. What type of file, file size, page count, word count, and character count. Even an overview of the paper itself on a page-by-page basis. So once I am okay with that, I'm going to click confirm. Then the system will prompt me that I have submitted my assignment successfully. And at the end of the, or rather on the side of the instructor, he or she will be able to get notified via email that someone has submitted an assignment. So my role as a student is done. So I will then switch in as an instructor for us to review the submission that was done by one of the students. So right now, I'm going to go inside again UP system class that I have created. as you can see, one student have submitted an assignment already. So again, it's based on the class and assignment that we have created earlier. So obviously, we would want to view that. And this is the part wherein we would be able to see a summary of the submissions that's being made by the students. So we have the overall similarity score of the paper that has been submitted earlier. So if you have, right now we only have one student, ako yun kanina. But if we have 30 or 15 students, 15 and or rather 30 students will be listed into this table. So the results usually come out after a few minutes. So if we're talking about hundreds of pages, I do think it will take around 5 minutes or less. And if more pages, it will actually depend on the internet connection that you have. So the paper ID is also important, and the posted date will be shown to you also. So right now we're going to view the results. I'm just going to switch my screen. Okay, so right now we are at the results page. So the results page actually consists of three different layers. You have the grading part, the similarity index part, and the e-rater part. And on the paper itself, once na ma-upload na siya dun sa results page natin or dun sa system, it will be then viewed as a PDF file. So we can scroll through it easily. And as you can see, there are different colors of highlights within the paper, red and purple. So that corresponds to the different layers that we had. So again, similarity would be red, grammar and spelling check would be purple. And then the blue one would be the grading part. So the blue one is actually the one that promotes proper feedback to the students and connection or rather bridge between the students and the instructors. Because the instructors can easily drag and drop comments within the submissions of the student. So these are concise or rather short comments, but we can actually add on full comments via text or via voice comment. And at the same time, if your favorite comment or usual comment is not present on the shortcuts, you can actually customize it based on your standard. Next would be we can apply rubric style of grading. This part can be customized further upon implementation. So once the student receives his or her paper, the quick marks that you have included within the paper, they'll be able to see it also. With this particular marks, they would be, at least they can see or somewhat hear your comments or your feedback from their submission. Next part would be the similarity index. So when we say flags, it says 0, meaning walang hidden text and no replaced characters. But if merong hidden text and replaced characters or special characters na nilagay ng student, you'll be able to see numbers within this part. But right now, wala siya. So let's move on to the next. So this is the match overview. So the system is telling me that I have a 100% similarity. So which means this paper has a 100% similarity dun sa student paper database ni Turnitin. So but don't get worked up by the numbers. Numbers would actually tell us a lot in terms of the results. There are times na merong lumalabas na 55% or 60%, which is on the number basis is actually considerably high. But when we drill down to the results, less than 2% or 1% ng mga paper na yon or nung mga sources niya or yung links is actually properly cited. So I suggest, once na makakita tayo ng mataas na percentage, we can, or you dig down deeper, which you can basically do with Turnitin Feedback Studio, because it actually gives you the links of the papers or the parts of the paragraph within the paper. And these links can be highlighted and you can actually follow it through the website. And there are some sources that's actually published within our database, and there are some sources that are uh, marked as private. So if open siya sa public, pwede mo siyang maklink and pwede mo siyang ma-review further. So mako-compare mo siya dun sa submission ng student. But if it is private, it will only show you yung it will actually tell you na private yung publication na to, pero yung percentage would also be shown. So you'll have an idea on how many percent yung nag-gather ni Turnitin based dun sa submission ng student and based dun sa result. And further, naka-index naman siya properly. So lahat ng sources na nakikita ni Turnitin within our system and within our database is being shown to you. So the good thing about our technology is we do it on a text by text basis. At the same time, provides you with a what do you call this? A concise overview of the result of the similarity index. And then further, we can tweak the similarity result. Kasi for example, there are some instructors providing references or links to the student. So, let's say itong part na to is, ito yung link na pinrovide ko dun sa student. So, I can exclude that. And then there's a big change with the similarity index. So, as you can see, we went down from 100% to 61%. And again, we can dig down deeper on some parts of the paper, especially yung matataas yung percentage. And it again, Turnitin actually makes your life easier kasi the critical parts are being highlighted. So makikita niyo yun in the future, yung mga red part. So if maraming red part, it's quite alarming. But if the percentage is high, but onti lang yung red parts na yon, at least you can get the side of the student to defend the paper to you. So it again, it promotes interaction between the students and the instructors. Then further, yung resources natin naka-breakdown pa rin, and also we can exclude and or rather filter yung mga different quotes, bibliography, tapos matching words para at least makita natin on a deeper aspect yung submission ng bata. Or rather ng student, sorry. Those are the excluded sources na pinapakita lang din ni Turnitin so we can restore it or turn it back. Lastly, another core functionality that's pretty useful with the students is the instructors is yung grammar and spelling check natin. Na-mention ko earlier na we have a color coding system. So right now, the system is showing us yung purple part. Sorry, I need to zoom that in. So there are parts here na naka-highlight. So meaning merong concern yung si system dun sa submission ng student na yun on that part of the paragraph or the paper. But when we click that, Turnitin will actually provide a short feedback or input with regard to that part of the paper. And further, the instructor can add his or her comments para at least mas ma-reinforce naman yung feedback ng instructor natin for the student. So basically, yun yung core functionalities ng Turnitin Feedback Studio. And then there are other options wherein we can send the current view and then download the digital receipt as a reference point for the student. And then we can download the original file. Also, once we send this back to the students, lahat ng inputs na ginawa ng instructor within the paper would then be can then be reviewed by the students. So that's the core functionalities of Turnitin Feedback Studio. I hope it's something that you would appreciate, and we're actually now open to take up questions regarding the functionalities. I hope you have typed your questions dun sa link that we have provided earlier. So we can review, and then my teammates is actually present in the background, Brian and Rose. So they'll be able to address your questions. But there are some questions here at the chat box. So I'll read it since nandito na siya. So from Sir Leo Manuel Estanya, the no repository option automatically records the work of the student only in the database of the institution. Yes, sir, that is correct. The database of the institution is also in the cloud. Separate po siya from the Turnitin database. One good question from Sir, or rather ma'am, sorry, Bachel Gay Palier. Is there a standard acceptable similarity index on manuscript submissions by the students? This one, there are different standards for each and every institution. So it's up to you, to your college, or to the whole UP system kung paano nyo isi-set up yung standards pagdating doon sa rating or sa similarity percentage. As I've mentioned nga po earlier kanina, last week I actually ran through a paper. 55% yung lumabas na similarity index niya. So which is considerably high. But when we dug down deeper dun sa submission niya, properly cited naman yung mga parts ng paper niya, and talagang mataas lang kasi madami siyang sources na nakuha. Next question would be, can we link Turnitin as the plagiarism checker in Google Classroom? That part would be discussed during the orientation when it comes to your training po. So there are different aspects po kasi, medyo technical na siya, kaya I'm hesitant to discuss it here. Another good question from Honorio de Jos. A high similarity index is not necessarily plagiarism as long as the texts that match with other sources are properly cited. Yes po, correct. So, dun pa rin papasok yung part natin as an instructor to provide critical feedback dun sa students natin. Role nyo na yon to tell them na you have a concern when it comes to the similarity index, but they can further discuss with you kung bakit ganun yung nangyari. So if properly cited naman, then I don't see any problem with that. US or UK or both po, sorry, si Rose pala yun. Question from Ms. Ruth Lusterio Rico. Can Turnitin Feedback Studio be incorporated in our LMS? Uble for UP Diliman. Ma'am, that is a technical question, so I think we're going to have a separate discussion with that tomorrow po. I've received an email invite from Ms. Rai. So we're going to address that during our meeting.
Sir, I'll just butt in. Yeah, I think most of the questions are already being addressed through the Google Sheet, but since some of our participants typed in their questions here in the chat box, and some have already been answered. Siguro, let's just read some of the yung mga hindi pa po na nasagot kanina. So here from Mr. Michael Van Sopranes, can this detect plagiarism written in any language? For example, does it work on documents written in Filipino, math symbols?
Okay po. So the technology of Turnitin is text-by-text matching. So technically, possible po for a different language. So for example, we have one submission na present sa database ni Turnitin, which is in Tagalog or Filipino. So if something similar is being submitted, yun yung magiging reference point ni Turnitin. But if yung submission ng bata or ng student is wala sa database ni Turnitin and it's on a different language, definitely wala siyang magiging result. As long as nandun siya sa database and meron siyang similarity index meron siyang similarity since text-by-text matching yung technology natin, makikita po siya.
Hi Franz, Brian here.
Yes, Brian.
I want to add, si Turnitin Feedback Studio has a feature of translated matching beta, wherein if the student translate it from the other languages to Filipino or English languages, we can also detect it. Like from French to English, yeah, we can also detect it.
Okay. Thank you for that, Brian.
And also, Turnitin Feedback Studio supports 17 languages. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Franz.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for that added info. We also have another question here. Sometimes even titles of paragraphs, for example, abstract, introduction, etc., are included in the detected similarity. Can you eliminate this?
For that feature, I need to coordinate with our training team. It's
Yes,
actually my first time.
friends, let me answer that question.
Okay,
So
thank you, Rose.
yes, it is possible. I think Franz showed how to exclude it. So I mean, there's a setting in the admin setting wherein you can exclude small matches. So yeah, we can do that.
Thank you, Rose.
All right. So that's possible. Another question. How big are the files possible for submission?
Usually it's around 10 MB.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you say that again?
10
Around
megabytes.
10 megabytes. Okay. UPLB will be using Canvas starting next semester. I hope Turnitin can be used in that particular LMS as well.
Yes po.
Okay. So that's possible as well. Can faculty use this also to run research papers for publication in Turnitin just to be confident that there is no plagiarism in the paper?
Yes po.
All right. So in universities in the US, 15% is the usual acceptable similarity index. But you're right, some accept higher percentages while others require scores lower than 15%. I think that's a
Yes.
comment on that.
So it's actually it actually depends on the standard of the institution. From what I've heard, one institution in Australia usually 5% lang yung ina-allow nila. So it differs.
Okay. Can instructors have the admin's privilege of viewing metadata of the student's paper?
Rose, can you help me out on that?
I think. What do you mean by the metadata? Because I think it's not available on the Turnitin Feedback Studio, but on another platform that we do have, right?
Yes.
It's so, yeah. I'm not sure how to answer that question as well. For to clarify, Feedback Studio the Turnitin Feedback Studio does not cater or does not have the metadata stored yet. It is on a different platform that we support.
But does the admin have that privilege po?
For the other, I mean, For the Feedback Studio or for the current subscription that UP has, I don't think we do have that. So
Okay.
it really depends on the product that we have.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon. Does Turnitin include Google web searches in its database? I'm just wondering how huge the database of Turnitin is.
Okay po. Hold on lang. I have one document to show you so you can get an overview of the structure of our
Okay.
database. Hold on lang po. Okay po. Let me share my screen again. So basically ito yung parang structure ng database ni Turnitin. So to answer your question directly based dun sa Google database. So there's a chance na makakasama siya dun sa internet archives namin. So nandyan yung numbers, current numbers namin pagdating dun sa database. So it's actually a lot. And then another segment would be yung scholarly publications and yung global student papers database. That's why there's a big difference when you compare the result of Turnitin compared to the other plagiarism checkers. Mas broad kasi yung application ni Turnitin due to our database. Yun po. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I think Sir Brian also made a clarification regarding the storage or the maximum capacity that Turnitin can upload. It says he said 100 MB per
Okay.
submission. Okay. All right. So there's another question here. Hi, thank you for your talk. Can Turnitin sponsor a research integrity summit or conference?
Ma'am, I hope I'm right. Ma'am Sanli or Mr. Sanli, can we discuss that offline? Send me an email po directly so I can engage you po.
Okay. We'll just post your. Is it okay if we post your email, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So later po, we'll give you our Turnitin resource person's email. Okay. So another question: does it detect ghost written papers? It seems it can only detect traditional plagiarism.
Ang concept kasi ni Turnitin is to detect plagiarism. So, if nandun siya sa database namin, especially if galing siya sa internet, so madedetect niya po talaga. So, yung part regarding sa ghost written papers, there's actually a different module for that. Siguro once you have appreciated Feedback Studio, then we can grow with that module. One module kasi which is more advanced dun sa Feedback Studio natin right now is it can detect yung mga authorship issues. So doon na papasok yung metadata nung each and every submission.
Okay. All right. Is the training today the same as Turnitin instructors' workflow training scheduled tomorrow?
Oh, ma'am,
I think-
it's different po. Tomorrow's the Turnitin instructor workflow training would be focusing on the different on how the instructor would be able to use Turnitin, including the different, it would be more detailed. So right now what Franz has provided to us is an overview of the system, but tomorrow it will be focused on how the instructor will be able to utilize it. So lahat po ng features niya, mas madidiscuss po natin tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rose. So this is basically just an orientation or an overview. So the training tomorrow is a more detailed one. Okay. I think
Yes.
they're interested to know because they might not be able to make it, but I think it's still good to be able to attend that particular session.
Also,
Currently,
if they would be able to attend some of the trainings, we can provide recordings naman po.
all right.
And then
Okay, so for those-
you also with our website, So it's very straightforward when it comes to the step-by-step functionality of Turnitin. So I suggest you visit that also, turnitin.com.
Turnitin.com. And for those who can't make it, they can send you a recording of the session. So currently subscribe to Grammarly Premium that has a plagiarism checker too. Can I now unsubscribe to Grammarly Premium given a significant overlap in the functionalities?
It it's actually based on your preference. But if you're going to ask me, ang malaki talagang difference ni Turnitin between the others is yung sa database. So there's a big chance na ang basis lang ni Grammarly on their plagiarism checker is internet lang. Wala silang partnerships between the other publications and then the other research institutions. Plus yung global student paper database.
Alright. So I guess pwede nating sabihin, sir, na okay na kung may Turnitin ka. You don't need Grammarly. Tama po ba? Ayun.
Yes.
Ayun. Para malinaw din kung kailangan ng i-unsubscribe. Okay. Can Turnitin detect a heavily paraphrased section of a research paper and pass it as his own? Heavily paraphrased.
It's actually possible po. So I do think on my personal standpoint, magkakaroon na rin ng intervention si instructor doon. So possible pa rin.
Alright. So another question. Oh, yun. We posted Sir Francis' email. It's fvictoria@turnitin.com. Is that correct, sir?
Correct po.
For those who would like to correspond or communicate with Sir Franz after this session, please send him an email. My name does look like a female's name, but I am a male. I'm male. Thanks for your response, and I will email you. Cheers. Yes, si Sir Sandy. Okay. So can we get the registration link for the training tomorrow? I think you will receive the pre-registration or the registration link later today or tomorrow. Please wait for it in your email. Isn't the training on December 4th? Siguro po ang staff na lang ng Information Services and Instruction Section ang sasagot niyan because the training is from December 2 to 4. May iba't ibang trainings for that period, for that whole period. Instead of linking all my students, will I be able to upload select student papers and check it on Turnitin?
Rose, I think I need your input.
Yes.
Together workflow na kasi.
Okay, yes, we can do that. But then again, it would depend on the instructor kasi magiging medyo, how do I say it? Medyo mabigat sa workflow ni instructor. So they have to download the student would submit it to them via email and then she would download and then upload on a different platform. So yun lang po.
Okay. Alright, thank you. Ayun, by the way, for those asking for the registration link and all concerns or other concerns about the trainings, please contact your unit library directly or your unit librarian for assistance. Okay? So, can we send the link to all the faculty or only those? Oh my God, I lost it. Can we send the link to all the faculty or only those have the link are allowed to join the training? Again, that's another question about the training, so please contact your unit librarian. Since Chinese universities and researchers are very active in publishing these days, can Turnitin detect plagiarism from Chinese literature written in Chinese characters?
Technically, yes. As Brian have mentioned earlier, we do have or we cater to different languages po. And our presence, Turnitin, as a global company is medyo heavy na din kami sa China. So there's a possibility, yes.
All right. So let's see. I think there's another question. Do you know of any software or system that can detect plagiarism in images?
Turnitin po. So it's a future improvement for us and also on a different module.
Okay. So Turnitin can also detect plagiarism in images. That's great to hear. Okay. I'm also teaching at the UP Open University and we also make use of Turnitin. How similar or different is it?
Actually, pareho lang po yun. Rose, correct? No?
Yeah,
For you.
it's the same because what we did this year is instead of UP Open University subscribing on their own, they are part of the UP system na. I mean, kasama sila doon sa allocations na pinurchase ni UP system.
Okay. So it's the same thing. It's the
Yes.
same Turnitin platform. Okay. So in the future, ayan, may additional po si Sir Brian. In the future po, we can detect pictures or photo. When can we start using the platform?
Basically, I think it's an internal discussion po between UP kasi on our end, yung license po kasi is active na.
Okay. So I guess the announcement will come from the ano tawag dito, us na, no? Sa UP Diliman na manggagaling sa amin. So, I am the CU administrator of Turnitin po, but I am not a librarian. I was not able to send all the names of faculty members in our CU for the training, but I have the link. I am not a library staff too. I am a faculty. Okay. So siguro, kung para po ito dun sa trainings for tomorrow, baka pwede pa po siyang ihabol. Just communicate with your library staff or siguro send us an email kung meron po kayong tanong about that. Meron pa po bang hahabol ng questions from our participants this afternoon? Mukhang wala na po. Ayun. Anyway, if you have questions or kung may maalala po kayong tanong later after this session, perhaps you can type it in the Google Sheet that we shared with you, no? Para naman, kasi we're also sharing that sheet with the Turnitin team para tulungan tayong sagutin. So if you have questions or if may maalala po kayong tanong mamaya, pwede nyo pa rin namang tanongin. Okay? So, meron pa po ba? Is there any last message that you would like to share, Sir Franz, before we close the session this afternoon?
So far, I'm good. Thank you for participating and I hope you'll maximize the system kasi it's actually really beneficial for the institution as a whole. So first would be for the students and then the instructors also. And thank you for the support also.
Ayun. Thank you also to the Turnitin team, to Sir Franz, Ms. Rose, and Sir Brian for answering the questions. No, this was such a meaningful endeavor, I'm sure, for all our faculty and our librarians, no, to finally get to know Turnitin and to finally have the chance to use it for the work that we do in the library and the work that our faculty members do, no, on the daily basis. So maraming salamat po to all our participants for being with us this afternoon, for joining this orientation. Of course, we still hope to see you in the coming days because the trainings are starting tomorrow until Friday. So sana po ay maka-attend kayo. Kung may mga tanong kayo ay ipaalam nyo lang po sa amin so we can assist you. Alright? So
also,
we're posting.
Just wanted
Go ahead, sir.
Sorry, once you gain access to the system, any technical queries po, you can email directly our support team. So pwede kayo magpunta sa website namin, turnitin.com or tiisupport@turnitin.com. So 24/7 you'll be able to receive a response po.
Okay. All right. So you can go straight to the website if you have technical questions, no? Especially if hindi namin masasagot sa amin and no, pwede kayo dumiretso sa kanila. So we just posted the Q&A Google Sheet. Again, if you have questions, please post them there so we can address them right away. And according to Ma'am Rai, our head of the Information Services and Instruction Section, pwede na pong gamitin ang Turnitin, no? So active na siya. At pwede na siyang gamitin ng ating mga faculty and ating mga staff. Okay? So I guess that's it for today's session. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Again, to the Turnitin team. Maraming salamat po ngayong hapon sa pagsama sa amin. And mag-ingat po tayong lahat. And we'll see you soon. Alright? Thank you.
Thank you po. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Have a nice day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.